One cool detail that I liked was that Sam has actually been reaching out to Bucky, that he's been sending him texts. What has he been texting? What do Sam's texts to Bucky look like?
Hey, did you kill anybody today?
That might actually be the text that he would get.
The actual in-canon. That's great.
Couple people getting together this Sunday for a little fishing trip. Just saying, if you're up for anything.
Man, if you're up for it, I'll buy the shrimp.
So we're partners, co-workers, not necessarily a team. No. We look damn good, though.
When you guys first found out that this series was happening, what was it about Sam and Bucky that you just really wanted to emphasize in your performance? And did you also have any specific requests for what you wanted the story to be?
I don't know if we get a lot of those special requests that were asked, but I think I don't know. I mean, speaking for me, I was just grateful that we get the continuation of what the story is, and quite frankly, I think this is what we discovered with the show was the most interesting storyline, to be honest, which is why I feel like Kevin always knows what's best, and we just follow the ride. We're in for the ride, and but I think we just wanted to focus on that dynamic and make sure we finally gave it the proper chance,
Well, I mean, to speak about that dynamic, I mean, I loved in Civil War when you guys just had this relationship where you were both best friends with the same guy, and that caused a bit of conflict. I'm curious just though, like now that Steve isn't in the picture as much, has the tension between your characters evolved? Is it different?
No, it's more so our relationship grew out of our appreciation for Steve. And that's kind of where it started and ended. Bucky and Sam, they have a mutual understanding and respect for each other. There's no admiration. So, that's the evolution of the two men in their role in the MCU.
What's going on in that cyborg brain of yours? Gears turning. Oh, they're malfunctioning. They're on fire. God, I hate you.
I'm kind of a total nerd for the Marvel timeline. And just, it's not said specifically in the first episode, but how long after Avengers Endgame is this story set?
It's close enough that the blip or snap, whatever you want to call it, defines every single thing that happens in the series. Basically, maybe 3.5 billion people have been gone for 5 years. They have suddenly reappeared. That has created a global crisis, which sounds, I'm sure, familiar. That's my go-to line. And all the villains are born from that, and all the heroes are responding to that. So it's close enough, that it's still very real.
There is that conversation that Falcon has about where Steve Rogers is, and there's a conspiracy theory that he's on the moon. Can you tell me what the official line is? What are the Avengers saying happened to Captain America?
We don't know.
We don't know. So there is no official line. We just don't know.
Well, I don't know that there's an official line, but I certainly don't know.
I don't know
Okay.
if there is. When we watch the series, maybe we get a little more, maybe we don't. Who knows?
Enjoy your ride, Buck.
No, you can't call me that.
Why not? That's what Steve called you.
Steve knew me longer, and Steve had a plan.
I have a plan.
What is it?
You start this episode off with just an absolutely incredible sequence. And you mentioned the movies earlier, but you are making a television show. So I'm curious just how you kind of work in the big blockbuster action sequences within the structure of an episodic television show.
How dare you, Eric, use the word television show? If Kevin Feige is going to send a lightning bolt at me right now because you said it. The mandate when I came in was this cannot look like television.
Oh, it does not.
It cannot feel, yes, and it cannot feel like television. And when Kevin said that, he didn't just mean the action, he meant also in the storytelling. So we tried to find a way to do a hybrid form of storytelling that has the immediacy and urgency of a movie for each episode, but is exploiting the real estate that 6 episodes give us, which is a completely different rhythm and cadence of storytelling to go deep into these characters. And I gotta say, as you know from seeing the first episode, the people who made this movie are the people from Marvel movies. They don't know nothing about anything except for being the biggest and the best. And when that first set piece came in, dude, I could not believe I got to be involved with that. I was like, oh my God.
It's
And
unreal.
they
Like
keep, yeah.
the wingsuits into the helicopter, just like that stopped my heart. That was just unreal, man.
They are the best.
That was real.
I mean, how? I mean, how did that come together? Because that's just an insane idea.
Well, we found a team. I got the inspiration by seeing it online. I watched a lot of videos that different teams have done, and whether they be parachuting or squirrel suits, or even there's people with wing, a version of wings, and so on. So I really combed actual footage to be inspired by what can be done. Also, the coverage, because people are getting used to watching a video that somebody really did jump out of a plane, and so how where were the cameras on that? So we duplicated. We were inspired by all those, and tried to sort of take the best of the best and duplicate what we felt was really extraordinary.
The world's more complicated now.
We're never gonna stop.
We got a taste of their characters in the first episode, but from your experience working with them, I'm wondering what you can just tease the audience about Wyatt Russell and Erin Kellyman's characters.
Oh man, there's a lot more.
They're the exact they work so well because they're the exact opposite of us. Everything that makes us fly, swaglicious, cool, sexy, they are the Canadian version of that. They are the exact opposite of us.
Basically, upstanding, dependable people. I mean, this is what he's saying.
They're terrific.
Yeah.
That's all.
That's all? Okay.
I will give you this. Every single person in this series, including the villains, think they're heroes and operate as such. And the heroes definitely understand where the villains are coming from in this series.
Hello, girl, kick your ass.
I wanted to ask about the use of Flag Smasher because it's cool. I mean, in the comics, it's a cool character, but I like that you've adapted it as a bigger philosophy for the show, and I'm hoping you can just talk about making that move.
Well, we wanted this series to be extremely relevant and extremely rooted in the times. And we wanted villains who believed they were heroes and could actually mount an argument that the audience would be like, oh, they're not crazy. So that the heroes could be like, I don't know if they're crazy. So there are more than one antagonist in the series, and all of them are of basically, if Thanos created an MCU that is almost mirroring where we're at today, then these villains are very much of our times. You know what I'm saying? Just like the heroes are.
It's weird even that like the MCU, like the time jump in Endgame worked to the advantage of Marvel kind of just catching up reality with the timeline. It's a weird thing.
Yeah, exactly. I hadn't thought you're really doing the math. You know how maddening that is when you're adjusting the actual date in the Marvel universe plus time jumps. You're like, oh my God.
This world is us. There's no going back.
Did you have specific references that you look to as far as developing both the plot and the dynamics between the characters?
Yeah, oddly, even though you have to be steeped in the books, the reference points were actually movies that had nothing to do with the MCU, which was Buddy Two-Handers, from 48 Hours to sort of Lethal Weapon 1 in tone and Bad Boys, because those kinds of movies are obviously able to, first of all, give Anthony and Sebastian the kind of real estate they need to play, but also those movies are very, very, they're built to take on topics of the times and deliver them in a way that's not alienating. So that was really where we all pulled from a lot.
I mean, an interesting thing just about those kind of movies, and especially with this show, is the just balancing of tones. Because like you said, I mean, Sebastian Stan and Anthony Mackie have an amazing back and forth, but you are dealing with, like, I mean, honestly, crises that veterans deal with every single day in our country. So, like, how do you create the balance between the drama and the laughs?
It starts with being honest. First of all, bless that genre, the buddy two-hander, because if you think if the most dramatic one is Defiant Ones, people's recollection of 48 Hours is that it's much lighter than it really is. So there's basically an international language with that kind of tone that lets the audience know they're going to be taken care of and lets the audience know they're going to be getting substance. And as far as like finding that tone and balancing it, we wanted this to be human. We wanted to be honest. We wanted the characters to deal with the stuff the audience knows they got to deal with. Everyone can see Sam as a black man, and if he's looking at them stars and stripes, that decision's not going to be easy. Everyone knows what Bucky's been through, and so I think the audience is going to expect the tone that we have, because they know there's no escaping who these characters are and what they're going to have to deal with to emerge as the new fully formed versions of themselves.
They need a cap. Damn right.